Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber ask me, "Hey Jason, could you try to discuss?" And I know this is vague. Could you discuss what's an ideal diet? So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling at my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. All right, guys, you know what? This is actually not that great of an idea. Some people are going to say, "What?" Yeah, this whole idea that you can find one specific ideal diet has promoted fad diets. This is actually the reason we have insane fad diets all over the internet. People have written fad diets and all sorts of books with really weird restrictive diets where people come up with 10 different versions of Paleolithic diets, vegan diets, different types of ketogenic diets, all in the quest to find an ideal diet. And you know what? There is no such thing. Now, I could discuss with you guys what is probably close to an ideal diet. Has a pretty good chance of being ideal for health, fitness, longevity, athleticism, energy, low disease rates. We could discuss that. But, the problem is that people need to remember this quest for finding the ideal doesn't apply that well to things like diet and human beings. And here's the reason. Humans are capable of thriving. And I don't just mean surviving. All right, people can say, well, surviving. Surviving means living old enough to have children and maybe for them to get just old enough to figure out how to feed themselves before you die. That would be survival. But humans thrive on every single continent on Earth. Humans have thrived in every environment, climate, and nutrition source known to man, meaning there are entire continents where there's not a single food people have in common with people somewhere else in the world, and people still live to be very old ages and be very healthy in those cultures and places all around the world. So when you look at that and you look at the composition of those diets and realize there are healthy, fit people historically all over the world in completely different climates that don't even have access to the same foods, and you start talking about the ideal diet, you're going to sound real stupid to anyone who's educated. Anyone who actually knows that, you're going to sound very stupid to. And the problem is people come up with really weird ideas of what they think the ideal diet is. Ketogenic people use the Inuits to say, oh, that's the ideal diet. But you know what? The Inuits, yeah, they follow what these people are calling a ketogenic diet. But they weren't that healthy. Just because they had lower heart attack rates than people who eat McDonald's every day doesn't mean they're healthy. They were all slightly chubby. They don't live that long. That's not a healthy diet. Plus, these people still eat more carbs than people on a ketogenic diet. People talk about paleo diets and then don't realize Paleolithic man didn't live that long. And paleo diets are actually, when you check the archaeology records, are nothing like what paleo advocates talk about. Vegans will talk about vegan diets being the healthy, the ideal diet. The ideal diet. Why the fuck don't vegans live longer than people on the American diet then? We know the standard American diet's pretty terrible. Vegans don't live any longer than people who eat the McDonald's diet. They're not any healthier. And there's no historical sign of any culture willingly being vegan ever in recorded history. All right, it doesn't exist. Only in the modern world, and they're not any healthier than anyone else. So people talking about all this stuff about ideal diets, you've got to factor that in. How about athletes? Oh, the best diet for athletes. Really, there are athletes who follow all these kooky diets that are opposite diets and still win gold medals in the Olympics, still go to the Super Bowl, following vastly different diets. So in light of that, when people say, well, what's the ideal diet? I don't know, you tell me. But the other big cop-out, well, everyone is different. That's also bullshit. No, humans are actually, as a species, capable of thriving on a wide variety of diets. So if you can only thrive on one diet, there's something fucked up with you. You're not different. You're a fucking mutant who has all sorts of defects. There's something wrong with you if you can't thrive and be healthy on 4 or 5 different types of diets. All right, there's actually something wrong with you medically. Now, that is the case oftentimes. A lot of people have medical issues from bad lifestyle, and certain diets seem to work okay, really well for people who have certain medical issues, like ketogenic diets as an example. Certain vegan diets, people seem to improve their health on dramatically because they've been messed up due to sedentary lifestyle and poor diets. It causes certain issues that these diets can alleviate some of the symptoms in, but that doesn't mean those are ideal diets for those people. Those people just have damaged themselves in some way, and some of these diets can help alleviate some of that in the short term. I mean, they're ideal. I mean, I would say an ideal diet is any balanced diet in which you get all your vitamins and minerals, You get enough carbohydrates to fuel all your physical activity. You get your essential fats that you need for basic hormone production, essential fatty acids you need for certain membranes and things to form in your nervous system, and enough protein to build and repair your muscle and tissue in your body. We could argue, if we want to look at who lives the longest and who's the healthiest, needs the least medical treatment, than Okinawans. They seem to actually be the longest lived people on earth. They eat a diet that's like 80% starchy carbs, almost no refined foods, almost no sugar. They eat a bit of lean protein. They do eat animals. They don't eat large amounts of it, but they eat animals, and they eat a lot of various vegetables and seaweed and stuff. But they even eat eggs. They eat pork. They eat all those things. Some of the stuff people freak out about, they eat them in limited amounts, but they eat them. They eat fish. They eat chicken. They're the longest lived, healthiest people on earth. Maybe their diet's ideal. I don't know. I would say probably what's close to an ideal diet, a diet that doesn't have too much processed food in it. And that would include garbage like protein shakes and all these different things people think they need. I don't know. Maybe get your proteins, the proteins you need from lean, grass-fed animals. Maybe wild game that you hunt yourself. That's usually the healthiest meats. How about you eat mostly starchy carbs for most of your calories? Minimally processed, some white rice and white flour is probably okay. As long as it doesn't comprise the majority of your diet, it's probably just fine. Although some people on white rice in certain countries live to be really ripe old ages with no problems. But starchy carbs with a decent amount of fiber in them. Try to eat mostly whole grains, tubers, and then plenty of green vegetables. In fact, if you eat plenty of green vegetables, you can probably get away with more refined grains. Minimize your sugar, minimize your saturated fat. Now, I didn't say avoid those things. Notice I didn't say avoid them. I just said minimize them. Don't bulk and cut. Pick a body weight and stay near there. Bulking and cutting is bad for you. Bulking and cutting is bad for you. Maintaining close to a constant body weight seems to be the healthiest. So any diet in which you stay close to your maintenance calories for many, many years on end, that's easy to follow like that has those other things in it, that's probably close to ideal. That's close to ideal. But here's the thing, tons of people who think they have a fitness lifestyle, they bulk and cut all the time. They put all sorts of refined shit into their body, all these protein powders, and think they need all these special refined sugars post-workout. These diets aren't fucking healthy. They're certainly not ideal. But, it is what it is. I would say that that's the sort of diet, though, that would probably be close to ideal. But you know what? I don't think there is an ideal diet for humans. I think humans are capable of thriving in all sorts of dietary environments. It only becomes really a problem when we start developing deficiencies in something, or we put a bunch of shit into our body that it can't process particularly well, such as excessive amounts of saturated fats, which the keto people do need to realize does lead to insulin sensitivity. People who follow strict keto diets are still insulin insensitive. They find out as soon as they eat some sugar. They find out real quick. They are. It doesn't seem to help them. Trans fats. Large amounts of trans fats, large amounts of fructose. Eating a lot of those things, that harms you. Not getting enough fiber, not getting enough vegetables, having dietary deficiencies. That's bad diets. So ideal would be anything that prevents all of those things. Anything that keeps you at a fairly consistent body weight, fuels your energy needs, and has no deficiencies, and doesn't have too much of anything too bad for you. That's probably about as close to ideal as you can hope for. But the whole idea of trying to find this is actually the wrong mindset. Looking for these ideal diets, that's how people get caught up in all these crazy ass fad diets. And the reality is you're not going to find an ideal diet. And people saying this, well, everyone's different. There's a different ideal for everyone. No, that's bullshit too. That's not how it works in the real world. There are certain diets that people seem to do okay on in certain ways for certain periods of time. But you know what? There's probably 3 or 4 other styles of diet that probably would have done the same thing for them. And usually when they find one like that, a specific one like a keto diet or something that works, is because they've got an existing medical condition they've created in their body, and it seems to temporarily alleviate it or get their appetite back under control. But it doesn't mean it's ideal even for that person, Again, I think we need to look at, instead of what's an ideal diet, people just need to be looking at what's a good diet for my overall health? What's a good, healthy diet for my overall health? In the entirety of it, when you look at it in the whole context, and will help me fuel my training, my performance, and live the life that I want to live. That's what you should be looking at. And that really isn't that hard to do. People overcomplicate this stuff, looking for silly shit like ideal, as if they're ever going to find it, or as if there probably even is such a thing for the human species. Probably isn't. We're the most varied species on Earth in the sort of dietary environment in which we are capable of thriving in entire civilizations and cultures. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.